everybody? What is up? JoPaWrites here, and today I have another episode of the Writer's Thoughts. These are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8:45 a.m. Eastern Time on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/JoPaWrites. If you miss them, catch them on my YouTube, youtube.com/JoPaWrites, as always. And I'm just going to jump into the news that I have today. First off, some major comic book news, which I don't know how many of you guys are interested in, but Dan Didio, the head of DC Comics, the actual comic, not the movie side, but the actual comic book side, has been fired, it looks like. He definitely left the company. And if you don't know, DC Comics is actually owned by AT&T. Now, there's been a downward trend in their sales for some time now. It's been ongoing thing that's been very problematic and has not helped that the movie universe has not been taken off as well as it should have. And so there's a lot of rumors and speculations now on what this means, whether DC is on its kind of last legs, which is obviously shocking considering the properties that they have. Batman, Superman, Justice League, all that major stuff. Now, this one probably not mean anything for the movie side. AT&T knows that regardless of how well or not well the movies are received, they make a bunch of money. They're still huge properties. They're still going to make a bunch of money. They could possibly sell off the division if they want to, but ultimately this is kind of crazy because DC has gone through a lot of ups and downs in the comic book sphere lately. Comic books in general have hit a downtrend. I think a lot of people are taking in their media digitally, which hurts comic books. Comic book stores are not being visited as often. So overall, it's a medium that needs a refresh, that needs to find something new. The other problem I feel like with comic books in general is a lot of the stories are being rehashed. And now that people are experiencing them live on movies and TV quite a bit more, and they're seeing the comic books take the same paths over and over again, and heroes die off and then they come back, and then somebody else takes up the mantle and then they come back. It's just becoming a tired medium in some respects. Now, outside of DC and Marvel, there's a lot of underrated hidden gems that I think would be awesome to explore. Just like in books, you have your major Game of Thrones books, and then you have a whole plethora of other options. Comic books are the same. I hope that comic books are able to stay afloat and continue to be a thing going forward, mostly because they're an awesome medium. If you haven't looked at comic books lately, the art is fantastic. The writing can be very good. The pricing sometimes can be a problem. I think people are expecting for what it is, they're expecting less money, but that's not really fair just because of the amount of work that the art goes into it and stuff like that. So I don't think that's really a thing that's going to happen as far as price changing. Although someone was pointing out that DC might be pricing their latest series at $7 a comic book, which makes sense as far as how much they probably cost to produce, but also the consumer is not going to pay that much, in my opinion, and that's just the unfortunate reality of the situation. Like I said, I hope that comic books continue to be a thing. They start to trend back upwards, and we don't see just this massive shift to all the superheroes being on TV and movies, because I feel like comic books would then, it'd be an unfortunate loss for entertainment as a whole. And I'm very excited to see if DC can turn it around with regards to their comic book division. Next up, we had the Call of Duty League that's going on right now. And normally I don't comment a whole lot, but this week was very interesting as there were quite a few upsets. We had teams like Minnesota and Florida, the Mutineers, who's my local team, so I've been kind of watching them a bit, pull off some surprising upsets. The Mutineers even made it to the finals, where they eventually lost to Atlanta FaZe, but they did beat the Chicago Huntsmen, who had been rolling in previous tournaments, previous sessions, and watching them come together, Florida, has been very interesting because they haven't been a highly rated team the whole time. Same thing with the Minnesota. You look at the power rankings by esports journalists and those kind of people. Though neither one of those teams have been rated very highly at all, and it just kind of goes to show you that all these events, especially having these continuous events throughout the season, is going to be there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. You're going to see teams surprisingly take off and some teams fall down. We've seen it from Optic LA, and they have really struggled out of the gate. Even Dallas Empire has been very hit or miss, and both those teams were expected to do some decent things. So Atlanta and Chicago are still at the top of this COD League standings, but it's very interesting. We're gonna see, I think, a spark in interest if we can have a lot of these teams really put up a fight and put up a challenge and be competitive, because while having a top dog is great and having someone steamrolling can be very good for viewership, it's also nice to have a little bit of challenge and some underdog stories coming out of nowhere. Some players who were maybe not rated before coming out and actually being stars down the line. So the COD League is very interesting. It is fully on YouTube now, which the viewing experience has gotten better. So if you haven't watched this week, compared to the last 2 weekends of games, it was quite a bit better in my personal opinion. They did some weird things. So, for those who are unfamiliar, Pristine and RCDs are brothers. Pristine plays on Florida. RCDs plays on the Chicago Huntsmen. Pristine's team won, obviously, so they interviewed both of them in a weird move. They were both in tears afterwards. First time I think they've played against each other in quite some time. And yeah, it was just not really, I think, ideal for them to do that interview at that time. But that being said, it was a very emotional moment, and it kind of showed the passion of the players, and might overall in the long run be a good thing. So we'll see what happens with that. Again, if you're not watching the Call of Duty League, I kind of recommend tuning in, checking it out, and seeing these competitors at the highest level. It's fast paced. The production is improving at YouTube, even though it's not, I think, still up to where the flow was with Twitch, because they had like everything going for a while and things were smooth sailing. So that was really nice. Then we got Dreams just launched on PS4, and I think this is something that I haven't heard a lot of buzz about, but I'm very interested myself, because Dreams is a game where you can actually go in and build like levels for other games basically in their system. Now, I don't think this is the end of where Dreams is going to go, but having looked at it, I think it's something that a lot of people could check out, because it kind of shows off the creativity of Fortnite, but with a larger sandbox, with the Fortnite creative aspect. Now, that being said, it's not without its hiccups, but again, this is something that people could potentially have limitless opportunities with, and creating levels and awesome games and stuff. We've seen it in other games. I know Far Cry had an ability to create a level, which is really cool, but doing it without kind of the restrictions of Far Cry is pretty awesome. So I don't know. I'm very excited to see where this goes from here, what they can do with Dreams, and hopefully it's the future of games being interactive with players, and players almost being like a dungeon master of sorts with regards to
I knew you'd come crawling back to me one day, princess.
like
You
building
hussy.
games and building
You
levels and all
trap.
that kind of stuff. So I think that'd be really, really awesome.
I can't say mad in
Now
that
we
face.
had the final thing I'm kind of going to touch on. I don't like to do like drama stuff, but we did have Ninja's Twitter account getting hacked, which was interesting. But then from there, you had TFue kind of calling him out for a boxing match, which, if you haven't paid attention, boxing matches between YouTubers, between internet celebrities, is fairly common. That's started to become a big thing. You had Jake Paul and KSI making a bunch of money off of that. So I'm not surprised TFue could kind of go this route. He's kind of a young, bro-like young man, whereas Ninja is more of a kind of established name. Ninja's been mired in a lot of controversy lately. This hacking kind of was like the last straw, and then TFue's kind of been calling him out a little bit. That being said, again, I think this is a non-starter. There's no way they're gonna do a boxing match. These two, their hands are so important for gaming. It's just interesting because a lot of people I know were talking about it and had been calling out Ninja for his just a gamer talk. And so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But overall, I don't think anything will come of it. It'll just be a bunch of talk in the game among two of the biggest creators, kind of on Mixer and Twitch. So, anyway, that's all I have for today. That's going to be the writer's thoughts. Thanks as always for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. If you do watch this on YouTube, follow me on Twitch, etc. I will catch you guys. Thanks as always for stopping by the channel. Make sure to like and subscribe for future content, and I will catch you guys later.